There's a certain electricity that creeps into Detroit this time of year, the kind that makes you lean a little closer over your beer at the corner of the bar because you swear you just overheard something worth missing your bus for. You know, the hum I'm talking about, the one that rattles through the floorboards at Ford Field on a freezing December. The one that makes you think about 4th and inches against Green Bay in '93. Or that gut punch Orlovsky safety that still flickers in the back of your mind like a broken neon sign. Tonight, it's back, crawling through the city like exhaust rolling down Woodward. And if you've been paying attention, you can feel that quiet, unshakable sense that Brad Holmes is sitting on something that could tilt the NFC North on its axis. Because this isn't about a depth guy or a late-round flyer. This is the kind of move that makes the rest of the league throw down their forks at a team dinner and say, wait, they're doing what? Now, before you even think about checking your phone, ask yourself, what's the one thing you'd risk breaking our carefully built chemistry for? What's the name that would make you grab your tailgate chair and pace? And here's where Tilt's reports out of Miami are stirring up one of the fastest, most polarizing names in football, Tyreek Hill. Yeah, I said it. The cheetah. A guy who on paper we absolutely don't need, and yet in the right hands, in Ben Johnson's hands, could turn our offense into something defenses can't even simulate on a Tuesday practice. Imagine this, Amon-Ra in the slot, Jameson stretching the seam, and Hill lining up outside, forcing corners to play on their heels like they're backpedaling through molasses. Hill's still under contract, big contract, but that's the lever here. He's 31, pulling down over $25 million a year, and somehow still racking up numbers that make rookie DBs consider a career change. You put him in our motion-heavy, play-action-hungry scheme, and Jared Goff suddenly has the football equivalent of a turbo button. And yes, I can hear you now. Why mess with what's working? But here's the wrinkle. If the chatter is real, if Miami's looking to move him because that Tua connection's fraying at the edges, the price might not be as insane as it sounds. One lead exec told Fowler that teams are monitoring the situation. Monitoring in this league is like that guy at the poker table pretending to fold. He's got chips in his palm. And if Holmes is in, you can bet Dan Campbell's already picturing Hill pulling the safety out of the box so Montgomery can tear through daylight. Now, here's the humor you didn't ask for. Picture Dan calling Hill for the first time. Yeah, we bite kneecaps, but we'll get you a heater for the sideline. But beyond the laughs, think about the ripple. Who loses snaps? Josh Reynolds suddenly has to fight like hell to stay relevant. Caleb Raymond becomes your Swiss Army knife return man again, not your WR3. Defenses can't load the box, can't. Double Amon-Ra without leaving a corner on an island, and you don't leave Tyreek Hill on an island unless you like watching your safeties run wind sprints. The cap gymnastics will be brutal weed. Either be moving money off the books or restructuring someone's deal. But Holmes has already proven he can thread that needle when the payoff's worth it. The NFC North wouldn't just notice. They'd panic. Minnesota's secondary, toast. Green Bay's pass rush, neutralized when they can't get to Goff in under 3 seconds. And don't even get me started on what Philly's man coverage would look like in January trying to track Hill in motion. So here's where the what-ifs start stacking like snowdrifts on I-75. What if this isn't smoke? What if Hill walks into Allen Park and suddenly every DC in the league has to rewrite their game plan from scratch? Or, and this is the thought that keeps me up, what if Holmes passes and Hill ends up torching us in someone else's colors come December? Because that's the cliff we're standing on right now, staring out over a frozen Detroit night, wondering if the fastest man in football is about to wear Honolulu blue. And if that thought doesn't send a shiver down your spine, you haven't been paying attention to how quickly fortunes can flip in Detroit. We've lived through the years where one missed tackle turned into a season unraveling, where a single misstep in free agency echoed for half a decade. And that's why the whispers about Hill aren't just entertainment. They're a litmus test for whether we're still the team that hesitates or the one that seizes the moment? Picture this. The moment Hill steps into the receiver room, Ben Johnson starts sketching plays in the margins that make defensive coordinators reach for antacids. But here's where it cuts deeper. Hill's arrival isn't just a weapon. It's a gravitational pull that shifts how every defense aligns against us. Safeties creep back, linebackers shade wide, and suddenly our run game is slicing through six-man boxes like they're made of paper. Now imagine that against Green Bay in December, Lambeau freezing over, and Hill still finding daylight on a jet sweep because the defense is too terrified of his deep shot to commit. And yet, for every dream like that, there's the cold math cap. Space is finite, and Hill's $25 million price tag means someone's payday gets pushed down the road. Does that mean a Reynolds cut? A restructure for Decker or Ragnow? Here's the wrinkle. You start moving that kind of money, and agents start sniffing the wind, wondering what it means for their guy's future. Locker rooms feel those tremors, even in winning seasons. And we've been on the other side of that too. Think Calvin's retirement blindsiding us. Think Barry walking away with gas still in the tank. This is where Brad Holmes earns his reputation, balancing the adrenaline rush of adding one of the league's most dangerous weapons with the discipline of protecting the roster's long-term heartbeat. Meanwhile, the NFC North isn't sleeping. You think Brian Flores in Minnesota wouldn't already be diagramming double safety looks? You think the Packers wouldn't resurrect some old-school zone blitz just to disrupt the timing? Even the Bears, rebuilding as they claim to be, would circle that game on the calendar like it's a personal referendum. And here's where it turns again. Hill isn't a plug-and-play in every system. But in Detroit, with Goff's timing routes and Johnson's motion packages, it's an oil fire in a windstorm. Defenders can know what's coming and still be a step late. And yet, no matter how electric that vision feels, there's the lingering question of cost beyond the cap draft picks. Holmes has been surgical with those. Would we really give up a first, maybe more, for a player in his 30s? History tells us that's where dynasties are made or unmade. Go back to the 91 playoff run moves that seemed bold then, are still talked about because they define an era. This could be that kind of inflection point. Or it could be the moment we look back on wondering if we flew too close to the sun. One more turn to consider. Miami isn't in a rush. That means another contender could slip in while we debate. And the next time we see Hill could be across the sideline in January, slicing through our secondary, instead of the other way around. So the real question isn't whether Hill fits. It's whether we've got the nerve to make the kind of move that tells the league we're done playing safe. Because in this city, in this moment, we know opportunities like this don't circle back. And if Holmes makes that call, Ford Field won't just roar, it'll shake. If he doesn't, we better pray the ghost of what might have been doesn't haunt us come playoff time. That's the knife's edge we're walking, and it's getting thinner by the day. So, Lions fans, do we step forward into the storm or watch it pass and wonder forever what could have been? Strap in because the decision is coming faster than even the cheetah can run. My take? If the cost doesn't gut our future, you take the shot. Weapons like Hill don't just change games. They change who you are as a team. And Detroit's ready for that kind of identity.